Welcome everyone. This is Podcasting in the Rain, and today we are talking about Tears of the Kingdom, the second Zelda game to come out for the Switch. How far are you guys?
I'm like 15 hours in, not that far. I'm lagging. I say I have a life, but these guys say I don't have a life because I'm not playing this game. But so I just got, but I just got to the depths. Fucking badass. So I'm not that far yet.
And
Yeah, for me, I have been lost in the sauce. I'm like 120 hours in, maybe halfway if I'm lucky, but I'm going for 100% completion right now. And those damn Korok seeds, man, that's been like the number one thing I've been trying to knock out as soon as possible. Even with all that time into the game, I've maybe found definitely over 200, probably not quite 300 yet, but yeah, it's just huge. But I'm pretty far into it. What about you?
I hear you.
Yeah.
30 hours in,
Yeah.
I am. I have done the equivalent of one Divine Beast from Breath of the Wild for comparison for Tears of the Kingdom. So I have like a fourth done-ish of the main story. So I've gone through the depths. Really awesome. I've gone through a little bit of the skies, but not too far into it. I haven't explored as much as I'd have liked, but well,
Yeah.
it's only time, right? It's only time for us to go through it all, and that is what we're going to do today. But we will start with the
Yeah,
game.
I think when talking about this, we're going to try to, even though the game's been out for 2 weeks, it's still relatively new to everyone. So we're going to try to keep it very minor on the spoilers, but we're going to just talk about a few things. And I think to start off, like, we should just talk about the very intro of the game as soon as we get started.
I thought it was badass.
Yeah.
Like, I love the whole vibe. I love the whole graphics, like the graphic design, the vibe of it. It's very spooky. You know, it's very like just you dread and the way it opens up is pretty sick. But I also have my own grievances about it because it's like a fucking repeat of Breath of the Wild intro where Zelda gets lost. You gotta find Zelda, and Link, he gets hurt. It takes all his life away, and he wakes up not knowing what the fuck happened, and has to figure it out.
It's done so much better than Breath of the Wild, though.
But it
Because
is
what? Well, he starts out at max. You start out with max hearts and max stamina.
Yeah.
And then you're walking through the caverns with Zelda. Like, I love the setup for it personally. I think it's fucking amazing. Because in Breath of the Wild, like, yeah, he wakes up in the Shrine of Resurrection. He's been asleep for 100 years. Zelda's been kidnapped. But you at least start this with her. And as you're going down the caverns, you know, you're seeing the murals.
Yeah.
And you hear like the creepy music in the background,
Yeah.
like the weird like
Violins
tones and
and-
stuff they're
yeah.
playing and stuff. It's really cool.
tone,
And the
the
further
color.
down you're going, like the music just kind of picks up more and more. And then,
True.
and then the moment whenever you finally get to the bottom of the cavern, I mean, I'll let you take
So,
that
I mean,
away.
maybe minor spoilers, right? Minor spoiler alert, but like for the opening cinematic, one can only assume Ganon you encounter, interestingly enough, down in the depths of the underneath the castle, which is pretty amazing. I love it. Voice is amazing. It's pretty good. I think I like the voice for Ganon this one time around. It's kind of like has I won't say gravitas, but like spooky, like it's that evil villain voicing. Like, oh, this dude, he has power, he knows it, and he's like, you can see he can be terrifying later on. Like,
Have you seen his normal form? You know, his like unzombified form.
No, not yet.
Yeah. Well, have you seen they've had pictures like all over the internet that Nintendo's
They
posting
have
on
okay,
Twitter.
yeah, they
seen
have.
that? Yeah.
No, I haven't seen it in the game myself.
Have you seen it in the
Playing
game?
it.
Yes, I
Okay.
have. Yeah. But it's just so funny. It's like you look at him and you just think like that one SpongeBob meme where he's like, "Oh no, he's hot."
Damn it, man!
Yeah.
What can I hate more about him? God damn it!
Yeah.
No, I agree.
Without saying too much, like this is definitely the coolest version of Ganon that there's ever been in the
Oh, that's
series.
a big statement.
It's
That is a very big statement.
yeah.
Very
Yeah.
big statement.
yeah. Well,
There's a lot
stand
of
by
different
it.
other ones. I don't know about all that, but I will say that the gloom, the new aspect in this game where everything is decayed, all weapons, all machinery, all everything is decayed. So it's like, oh, all weapons are kind of whatever.
That's how Link loses his arm too.
Yeah.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
very important. He does lose his arm to like the gloom just grabbing at his arm, and again, spoiler: Master Sword just
Snaps in two.
snap. Not even snaps in two, just shatters in two pieces. And you're like, oh,
Yeah.
I thought you weren't supposed to break.
Mm-hmm.
That's not true.
Yep. I know.
That's not true at all. And so it's that classic trope where you're like, oh, you have all this power, but let's dial it back for the rest of this game, kind of thing.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I do like when Mummy Ganon was like taunting Link. He's oh, you're the hero. This is a sword that's sealed away the darkness, and you can't even
This
touch
guy.
me. Yeah, this fucking
It's like,
guy.
it says, hey, this sword ain't gonna do anything if it shatters like
Yeah.
that. And like,
Yeah, I did like that. I was like, oh shit.
But God, the moment whenever like he grabs you and you see your hearts just start disappearing one by one, it slowly
how many hearts was
goes
that?
down.
Do you ever count?
The max hearts originally I think was 32 you could
32?
get in Breath of the Wild. Yeah, so I'm assuming that's probably how much you had at the time. But yeah, it was so cool, and it slowly ticks
Yeah.
away at like till the final 3.
And then all 3 of your stamina
yeah.
rings gone.
Yeah, got fucking shit in that theory, pretty much.
I want to point out this is one thing I'm not exactly. If I had one caveat of the whole mechanic of the game is the stamina. Your stamina wheel beginning is so short,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so very short. I almost feel like I can't do almost anything.
Yeah, like what's the point of you even fucking running? 'Cause you run out like in 2 seconds.
In like
And it's
Real.
like
My guy literally just defeated Calamity Ganon, was running around all throughout Hyrule, and you're telling me he can't sprint for more than 3 seconds?
that's what I'm
without
saying.
getting
It's
winded?
fucking bullshit.
oh, he's just
Yeah.
winded now.
Yeah.
I mean, it would make sense to have like this, obviously still keep like the stamina meter, but like not have the sprinting take so much.
I mean, it is pretty lifelike,
having to-
right? Because I sprint for 3 seconds. I'm huffing and puffing.
You know what? That speaks to me.
Yeah.
That speaks to me.
It only gets worse the older you get
Yeah.
too. It sucks.
But
Yeah.
no, that whole cinematic happens, right? And then you wake up in a new area, kind of thing. Like I don't know where I'm at. I don't know what's going on.
Got a new weird arm.
Classic, like same as like the Breath of the Wild, like Room of Resurrection, where you're like, I just woke up from a slumber. Apparently, I was almost dead. Where am I? Where is this place? This one has a much better opening towards the everything. Where once you get out, you're on a sky island, and God, the view is breathtaking.
The title card that plays whenever you first like jump down, and then he's skydiving. The music, the saxophone starts
Yeah,
playing,
Yup.
the camera starts rotating, and,
then
it's
the
like
credits
Tears
with
of
his,
the Kingdom.
With his face, you're like,
Yeah. Oh, that was such a fucking
what a nice
such a great opening.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Wait, go ahead.
I was saying that like I actually bought this game twice because I was lucky enough to get the collector's edition pre-ordered.
That was so
But unfortunately, it wasn't going to come into the mail till a couple days after the game came out, and
That's hilarious.
I was like, I'm not waiting for this, so I bought it again digitally. So I was able to play it on Thursday night at 9 p.m. our time, whenever it released.
Jesus.
But like, I straight up, I got emotional. I may or may not have like shed a single man tear.
Oh, you did. I know.
Yeah.
You did.
Oh no, you
Yeah,
did.
I was like, it's
It's all the love.
been waiting for 3 years for this.
So, what did you guys
So good.
think of the island?
Loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Loved it. Which
Huge.
Huge. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I thought too. I thought it was a lot bigger than I thought it would be.
Same.
and you basically start off in the Great Plateau, same as Breath of the Wild in first tiers, where it's your tutorial zone. The only thing I was gonna say about that though, it's like it is more it feels smaller, whereas that Sky Island is meant to promote the new abilities you get from the shrines.
Oh
there.
yeah, 100%.
Less so the rest of the mechanics of the game, which I understand, given that if you're playing this, you probably played the first game already, so you don't necessarily need a reminder of the all the mechanics and whatnot. But it didn't necessarily feel like, oh, you can do all the beginning stuff here. You know, this is basically like, oh, you can do all the new abilities here. This is where you test the new abilities. You're gonna find out or either learn or remember how to do those old abilities, all those other old mechanics and everything else. Like, you'll figure it out, kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know?
This is a little bit more handholdy than in Breath of the Wild, because in Breath of the Wild, I mean, you meet the old man and then he's like, okay, go to these shrines. These are where to get your abilities, and then you're on the go.
Yeah,
Here
that is
you
true.
have like the first king of Hyrule, Rauru, his spirit following you around and kind of giving you a much more guided hand, because I don't know, there was a lot more layers, I feel like, to the Sky Island tutorial area as opposed to Breath of the Wild.
Think so?
And there was a lot more, I think, like, there's a lot more depth to it as well, because there is a lot more to teach, especially with like all the new abilities. Which do we want to go ahead and I just break those down now?
Nice segue into it.
So you have 4 abilities. You have Ascend, Fuse, Ultra Hand, and Recall. And these replace the previous abilities that you had in Breath of the Wild, which was it was your bombs, which
The ice.
cryogenesis, I think.
Cryogenesis.
Yeah, and then
Just the freeze stasis, and then there was the magnet, I think, ability
magnet.
where you control metal things. Whereas
Yeah.
Ultra Hand, you could just control everything more than just metallic objects.
Yeah, so the gimmick for this game, obviously Ultra Hand is like the biggest gimmick for this game, being how like you can literally like put anything and everything together in this world.
It's so sick.
And this game is like the most open-ended like video game I have ever played in my life, because there is not one answer to anything, like absolutely anything in the world. Every single minute detail, everything can be approached however you want, and it's just crazy, like the possibilities.
I was gonna say, I do wonder if because they have there's 2 abilities, Ultra Hand and Fuse, that are so similar, but one's for weapons and one for everything else. I almost wonder, like, couldn't you just combine those things?
You would think.
Right?
I was wondering the same thing.
Like, why is that a whole separate ability when it does more or less the same thing just for weapons?
Yeah, that does make sense. At the same time, it's like, how crazy would that game be if like you were able to like fuse certain weapons together and then use Ultra Hand to attach those like weapons onto things that you would build?
I understand the complicated, like the actual technical details might be like super.
Can you? I think you could do that anyway. Can't you attach weapons to items?
You can.
You know what? You probably can. I don't think I've ever tried it as much time as I put into this game.
No,
but
you
Yeah.
can. You
now
can.
it's something I'm gonna start.
But you wouldn't be able to
trying to
use
see
it
what
as
I
a
do.
weapon more so than
Yeah, that makes sense.
I get having the separation and everything, but
I mean, if like, I don't know, you'll say you make a battle tank and like you fuse a bunch of spears with like the spiked balls and stuff, and you just put a bunch of them on top and then you drive
That shit's sick.
true. The armor.
You Mad Max this shit.
Yeah, the amount of creativity that I've seen other people have for these things, where they create super mecha vehicles that do almost everything, flying things, tanks, whole fortresses, moving fortresses that have so many different things going on that you're just, you're doing everything. You're just like, you're in a walking tank. The only problem that I find with it is that you can't pocket it. You can't pocket the vehicle, so you can't take it with you necessarily. Once you teleport, everything's gonna get reset. So you're like, well, I have to either build it again or I have to keep this and travel all the way across the map instead of teleport. So,
I can't say anything, but there may or may not be a solution to that problem later on.
So you can pocket it.
I'm not.
Yeah, that's what that's.
I'm not saying that.
That's what that's.
That's what I'm taking for fact. We'll go on. Those are just those fusing abilities that have to do with like the creativity of this game. The other 2 more or less starter abilities being the Ascend and the Rewind ability.
Recall.
Rewind or recall?
Recall. Yeah. By far my 2 favorite abilities, dude. Recall. I've been able to use it in such like crazy ways where I can just skip puzzles. I can skip whole areas of the game.
Yeah.
Because it's like pretty much what Recall does is it like, it's crazy too. The game tracks everything, like all the items, the inanimate objects that move in the world. It's tracking it and it's calculating it all at the same time. And any point in the world, you can click Recall, and I think it rewinds that item back to, or item, not item, thing that you're targeting back upwards of like 10 seconds. And you can do that with anything and everything that isn't nailed down to the floor. And it is just nuts.
The wild combos and solutions you can do with rewind is
It's fucking wild.
I've definitely, recall's been the one I've been abusing the most as of late. It used to be Ascend, because like Ascend is really sick too. Essentially, you can just find a ceiling that Link can reach, and then you can just use it and go through the entire environment and end up at the top. And it doesn't matter how deep or wide it is. It's like you get a start, you will finish at the top of whatever you ascended to from the bottom.
So then,
Crazy.
saying that, what would be your favorite ability of those starting ones?
It was Ascend for a while, but then I really started figuring out how I could abuse Recall to not really break the game, but like Recall is like so helpful if you're able to use it in a creative way. And so I definitely think Recall is by far my favorite ability, just because of all the cool like things I've been able to do with it. And I'm not a creative person. I'm far from it. Kind of an idiot. But I've been kind of proud of myself with some of the ideas that I've thought up as far as like avoiding wipe that smirk off your face. Both of y'all.
Don't worry about it. Go on.
But yeah, I'll end it there for me. What about you?
Well, for me, I still think it's Ascend, only because with the then this goes back to the stamina wheel, that like doing anything that requires a stamina wheel it's hard to do unless you have enough stamina, and it's always kind of been a problem. So for me personally, I always try to level up my stamina before I level up my hearts, because I need it more. Whereas like with hearts, I just need to be better. I can try to either be better at combat or like more strategy wise, but I can still get around not needing as many hearts.
That's one of the first things I focused on too. Actually,
the stamina?
Yeah,
Stamina
before even adding any hearts, I gave myself a full stamina wheel first, and then I started adding hearts afterwards.
So because of that, I will say Ascend, because Ascend cuts out so much climbing.
Yeah.
So much climbing. Everything you want to getting mobility is so much more increased in this game, and given how massive this game is, it doesn't necessarily make it a hack or a cheat, but it's still so vastly helpful that like I can get to so many more places. My mobility is not restricted because of that. I can do or reach more places than I ever have before in Breath of the Wild, and that I just can't get around it. I love saving that stamina. You don't need it. You can just go all the way up to the top of a mountain. If you're at the very bottom, you're like, well, I'm just gonna ascend because there's a ceiling directly enough, which you do need a close enough ceiling. That's a stipulation for Ascend, but other than that, you can pretty much go up to the top of anything.
Find yourself something that you can stand on, use Ultra Hand, lift it up close enough to the ceiling, and then
press
stand on
recall.
top of it, recall it, and then use Ascend.
Yeah, but that requires so many fast movements. I'm like, I gotta switch this really, really
No, it's not that difficult.
Yeah, it's not that difficult.
Nah,
I'm just giving you.
As far as I've been in the game, I guess my favorite would be the fuse and then recall. Yeah, just because the fuse aspect is just Jesus. Like, I'm still discovering how much you can fuse to your weapons and the different effects it has, even to your fucking shields.
There's so
Like,
many
it's
creative
so
kinds of shields.
crazy how many different effects you can change your combat just because of what you fuse to your weapons. It's crazy.
Right. No, it's very, very diverse how you can combine and do so crazy things. Like combining anything with a shield is kind of wild. Combining weapons and shields can make some crazy combats. Having like I remember having the maybe not a big thing, but like having a spear on a shield where you can kind of more your speed at blocking is much faster because you're like, oh, I'm gonna jab and then all I have to do is like slightly move up and you're blocking, kind of thing, where you can just block immediately. But that's very low on what you could potentially do with shields.
Do you mind if I tell you one or two cool tricks that you can do with the shield fusing? So you can technically dual wield in this game, because you can you can fuse a sword to a shield, and then whenever you have your shield out, when you're blocking, if you hit the parry button, that counts as a sword.
Oh, as an attack.
Yeah, and then you can use your other sword right afterwards. And on top of that, you can mix elements too.
Yeah.
Let's say, for example, you put an ice weapon on your shield and then have a fire weapon in your right hand.
Yeah.
You can freeze them and then immediately hit them with a fire weapon, and that's an instant
That's
critical
genius.
hit. Yeah. That's just, and that's not even scratching the surface.
You know
of what
what's
you're
so
able to do.
crazy is how genius that aspect of the game is. It's like it's so simple of a concept.
And it's never,
To be honest,
never seen
it's
this
so
before.
simple of a
And
concept.
it's genius.
Exactly, it's so simple of a concept where you just combine stuff together, and it's new. I don't think it's been done before. But it creates so much like just different opportunities, different ways of playing, and it's sick.
Like
Truly is like the most open-ended game I've ever played in my life.
the creativity in this game, the amount of improvisation in this game is massive. So you can do any number of things to complete a puzzle, and it'll all still work. There's just so many variations. You can do this and that. You can do recall to do past things. You can do fuse. You can do many wild stuff that I remember seeing stuff like this in Breath of the Wild with the stasis ability, because that's more or less what recall is, except the recall is able to rewind time on things, where stasis just holds time, more or less. And so you can almost see where they were going with that, but man, it's such a simple connection to make so much vast of a change.
Yeah.
Right?
So then after you get all those islands, after you get all those abilities, then you get off Tutorial Island and you dive down into Hyrule. I guess this is where we can start talking about the comparisons between...
Before we get to that, I do want to make a prediction.
Sure.
So at the very end of Tutorial Island, when you give the Master Sword to Zelda, she's back in time, right?
Maybe.
I'm pretty damn sure. I mean, it's a fucking Zelda game, so it always deals with time and
You're not
jumping
wrong.
into different timelines and shit.
That's something I always kind of admired about Zelda games. How they include time and not make it overly complicated.
Yeah, it's a little complicated. But
It's complicated, but
Have
like
you not seen the Zelda timeline
it's
bullshit?
fucking.
I've seen them trying to connect all those things. It's a little stretch, but like, sure, they can all be somewhat the same timeline. I'm just meaning like time manipulation in any single game.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You're like,
I do, but yeah. So I think because the yellow orb that you touch, it's like yellow, same color as Recall, and yeah, just the way it played out. I'm like, nah, Zelda disappeared back in time, and that's why Rauru was like, oh, I can only do so much for you. The rest is up to you.
You might be onto something, but also to add on to that, a really small touch I appreciated. The sound the sword made whenever it flashes, it's the sound that the sword made with Skyward Sword.
Yeah, I noticed
with
that.
Fi or Fi.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, it's little. This game does a lot of little things like that where I'm just like, oh god.
And
They
to
just
go
get
back
it.
to the intro,
Yeah.
it built so much on the Skyward Sword lore in like so little time.
Yeah.
Considering the whole Kreen, how do you pronounce the name? Hylia.
Yeah.
Marrying the Zonai King, and that's what started Hyrule. And then the first calamity happened, right?
Yeah.
It's just crazy how much lore they just gave you, and if you weren't paying attention, and you didn't play Skyward Sword, you wouldn't connect the dots.
Yeah, for all the Zelda lore nuts like myself, oh, we're eating good right now.
Yeah.
We're eating so good. This is like the most like actual story that I've ever seen in a Zelda game.
there's so much lore in like the
there's so
first
much.
cutscene, the first
So many dots
cinematic
connecting. It's so nice. It's about damn time. And
It's almost
Yeah.
like Breath of the Wild was the whole setup.
Breath of the Wild is nothing more than a fucking tech demo compared to Tears of the Kingdom.
That's
It
true.
feels like a first draft compared to
There's
this
so
game.
many
It's-
little details
yeah.
and things in this Tears of the Kingdom. Like, man, they're just in the first place you go to, Lookout, whatever.
Lookout Tower?
Lookout is it towers? What?
Or Lookout Town.
Oh yeah. So I guess now we can go into the comparisons.
Yeah.
After diving off of the Sky Islands and going back into Hyrule, your first objective is to go to the Lookout Tower. I think, which is like just pretty close to Hyrule Castle. Just
Yeah,
south
it's
of
pretty
it.
damn close.
And so who wants to start off with the comparisons?
I mean, shit, where do you even start? I think, like you said, like, Breath of the Wild is like a demo compared to Tears of the Kingdom. They literally took everything in Breath of the Wild and just made it better.
Yeah.
Just the map alone. There's the sky, ground level, and then the chasms. It's like fucking crazy. So you guys are ahead of me. Like, how many islands are there?
There's quite a few.
There's quite a few.
I will say I was expecting for there to be a lot more in the Sky Islands, and there's not.
I got it.
Like
okay.
I don't think there is a lot to go through, but like not near as much as I was expecting.
Yeah, because the reason why I asked is like, you know, you can see them when you're up in the sky, and I'm like, it doesn't doesn't look like a lot.
But honestly, I appreciate that because the game's already so big as it is. Imagine having like three full maps to have to go through.
Yeah, basically.
I don't know. I know what you
Crazy.
mean, but I'm like, if you're gonna go there, go all the way. Make a lot of Sky Islands, but it feels like what do you call it? How Skyward Sword, where there was like a scarce amount of islands compared to the surface. Where
Don't even get me
everything else-
started on Skyward Sword.
It's not this one.
Yeah.
Not this one.
We can save that for another video.
Maybe another video. When we do maybe more Zelda stuff, but no, like it had not. I had that same feeling where there was not that many Sky Islands and everything like that. So I can understand what you're saying. The depths, though,
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
It's the entire size of the Hyrule map.
Like, don't get me wrong.
Literally.
Like, and this is a really cool thing is that their map is the massive amount of area that the Breath of the Wild had. It has that. Granted, there are changes, as you remember noting that like you can, if you explored as much as people did in Breath of the Wild and explored everything really, like you can tell they changed up the whole landscape. So it mostly is the same, like large different landmarks and stuff, but you can tell the difference on things. And that's massive in and of itself, but the depths is like that, but it's all new. You don't know anything going on in that underground area because you've never been there. And it's just as massive, except it has the added benefit of being like pitch black.
Yeah.
Pitch black almost everywhere, where the only way you can get around is like either like light bloom seeds, which are like pretty much light bulb plants, or the light roots, which are their own equivalent shrines down there in the depths, where they light up an area so you can eventually light up enough of them you get to see the map.
Yeah, what I really appreciate about the depths is that it's literally the exact inverse of exploring Hyrule. Because when you're exploring Hyrule, you know, it's all about like going to what you can see, whereas in the depths it's like you don't see anything and you're forging your own path. It's so dark where it's like sometimes I'll throw like a bright bulb, whatever they're called.
It's called bright bulb.
Bright bulbs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll throw a bright bulb, thinking, "Oh, I wonder how far I'll get it," and I'll also have a fucking wall right in front of me, and I'm like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah, there was a couple times where I was traveling on one of those skeleton horses in the dark, and I was like, whoa, wait. I feel like I'm gonna hit a fucking cavern, or I'm gonna fall off. I'm gonna throw a light bulb, and it's just, and I'm not. But you can't see shit.
Yeah, not to mention the added mechanic in the depths, the effects of gloom.
Oh god.
So
yeah.
gloom is like pretty much this game's version of like Ganon's Malice, except it's 10 times
for
worse.
sure. Yeah.
Because the thing is like gloom takes away your health permanently until you either leave the depths or you find a light room where you can recover those hearts. And not to mention there are enemies covered with gloom as well. And if they hit you, you will also lose permanent health until you go back into
Every
light.
enemy in the depths is covered in gloom, except for the bugs.
There are some, most are, but there are some that aren't.
Right, like
But
those fucking bugs.
It's crazy. It's like you actually have to be really careful, and plus there's also gloom all over the floor, the walls, everywhere. If you step in it, I think if you stay in it for like 2 seconds, then you start losing permanent health as well. It's so like dangerous, and I personally fucking love it. It's challenging. It's hard. I'm not as scared of it now. My first time going down there, I was actually like a little bit creeped out. Granted, this was at like launch day at like 3 or 4 in the morning. I hadn't slept all day. I was at work before. I was probably up for about 24 hours. I was like genuinely getting creeped out at like some of the things that like I was like I guess afraid of like discovering, and I can't say anything about it now, but like there are some really terrifying stuff to see down there, which is just so sick. It's so atmospheric, especially
is,
whenever
yeah, I like that.
especially whenever you're diving down the hole, because diving down the hole, it's the same length as if diving from the Sky Islands
Yeah.
to the
I
surface.
love that entrance, the first dive
Yeah.
into the chasm.
The horn.
'Cause I was like, yeah,
The
I'm like,
horn.
holy shit, how deep
Yeah.
is this?
I know this.
And then I was thinking, like,
yeah.
how do I get out? Like, there's no way of getting out.
You can't. 'Cause
Yeah, unless you fast travel, obviously,
only
but
way
still.
to do it is fast travel, which
Yeah.
is kind of wild. So and it kind of makes sense that you have to go to Lookout Tower first. That way you have a teleport.
I wonder what happens if you don't go to Lookout Tower first.
Well,
Oh, I guess you could
wouldn't
fast
get-
travel
you
with
wouldn't
Sky Island.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
you
yeah.
also you
That would
can't
be
go
the
down there without going to the Lookout Tower, because that's where you get your paraglider. Otherwise, you try to go
Oh,
down there. Yeah, you don't have a
oh, yeah,
glider.
no, you're
I thought
right.
you get the paraglider at the Temple of Time.
No,
you get it
No,
at
yeah,
the-
you get it at the
Lookout
lookout
Tower.
when you unlock the Skyview Tower.
Yeah,
Oh,
they give you the
that's
paraglider
right,
for you
that's
to be
right.
able to.
Yeah,
map
you
out
you
the
just
area.
die.
Yeah, we're just fucking die.
Yeah.
There's no water down there, at least in the initial
Yeah,
thing, where
yeah.
you're just diving down. You're like, there's no water to drop
Is
into.
there water down there?
Do you want me to talk about it, or do you want
What
to,
there
I
may or
would say
may
I would
not
say
be.
I'm not gonna answer anything, because I do want you guys to explore it and be genuinely surprised.
I mean, there might be, but at
So-
the very least, not in the initial like drop. You're like,
Yeah,
there's
yeah, yeah.
nothing to drop into to save yourself. So if you don't have the paraglider, you're just gonna die going down into the depths. Like,
All I say is don't sleep on exploring the depths, even though it's asking a lot. Try to explore it as you're actually exploring the surface level of Hyrule. Try to do it all.
I'm starting to have the opposite problem because I've just been stuck in the depths. I'm like, I need to look and see where more of this stuff
That's fine
is.
too, because you do get the best rewards down there.
I believe that.
But you know what's crazy? In all the marketing material, like Nintendo never mentioned a single fucking word about it. They were always talking about the sky. We're gonna be in the sky.
You know what?
There
You're
was
right.
never a single
you're right.
word
You're
talked
right.
about the depths.
They never said anything
secret,
about that.
best
Best kept secret,
Yeah.
It
straight
was
up.
There, there's a third map.
All they mentioned was going below Hyrule Castle.
Yeah,
to
in the
start
trailer,
off.
yeah, to start off, yeah.
But then that's not like it's not part of it. But no, it is.
Yeah.
one of the
Very much is.
it's funny because like one of the biggest complaints that people had about Breath of the Wild is like, like couldn't we at least have like half caves, because Breath of the Wild was pretty barren.
Yeah.
And they're like, you want a cave? Here's a fucking cave. Yeah.
And then they're like, just on time, and just for added measure, we actually did include more caves, and
Yeah.
they're extensive.
There's technically 4 layers, because there are some caves where I will like come across some that I have like stayed in for hours exploring.
Damn.
Not the depths, just
Really?
normal caves on the surface
Jesus.
area. Yeah, it's nuts.
Gives
Yeah.
you perspective. There's not enough bright. There's not enough. You got to keep on grabbing more.
Yeah.
Which there's none in the depths.
Nope.
I
Yeah, there's
there's
none
a
of
find
that.
there's a legitimately none.
But
in the
there's
depths.
bomb flowers.
But there's
Bomb
bomb
flowers made a fucking comeback in this game. Who would have ever thought we'd see the day when we'd see another Zelda game with bomb flowers? That's such an
I love
iconic item
bomb
to me.
flowers. I love bomb flowers because I love the bombs, and you don't really, as far as I seen yet, there's not a good place to go get bombs. So it's kind of a needed type of item. I'm glad to have down in one spot. I just need to go down here to go find them.
Yeah.
So
Like this game is so much more than Breath of the Wild ever was. Like going into like my overall like personal opinion of this, like this game is just incredible. Like there's much more enemy varieties. There's a whole cave system, and there's just caves littered everywhere, and there's a bunch of enemies from like all the other different games are in this fucking game now. There's Horriblins, which are like those monkey monsters from like Twilight Princess, which I think was like the one monkey mini boss from like the very first temple. But then you also have likes made a comeback again,
yeah,
and then Bossville Coblins. That's really great to see.
Where are those from?
Bossville Coblins from Wind Waker.
Oh, okay.
oh really?
Yeah, and it's like there's so much more that I don't even want to like talk about, because you guys will see. But like on top of that, Koroks are back. But like I'll post a little bit of snippet of a video here. Have you guys seen the Korok Crusades online?
Yeah,
Or the
yeah.
Korok
You showed us
Crusades?
that.
A little bit.
I love
Things
it.
are fucking
I love
hilarious. So Korok seeds are back. Most of the normal Korok puzzles are here and present. Probably another 900
You're
that we
a
have to
fucking
find.
madman. I
He's
don't
probably
know why,
gonna-
I don't know why or how you.
But the greatest gift Nintendo gave us was the Escort Koroks. I mean, granted, I hate
Wait,
them the
why?
most.
Why?
Because we get to abuse the ever-living shit.
I like them because they're the
We can
easiest
take out
ones to
all of our
do.
hatred and
You
frustration
just
on
spit
them.
roast them.
Like
Yeah.
all I need to do is carry your ass to that location. That's it. I don't need to toss something through a hoop. I don't need to chase through rings. I don't need to do any of that. And I don't need to put like rocks in a certain circle formation. No, just need to get you from point A to fucking point B. That's it. I can launch your ass. I can do however that happens. I can do it. It's all I need to
Yeah,
do.
there's been people that have been putting them on crosses and burning them.
Yeah.
They've been making like Korok rotisserie machines. They've been putting rockets on them and just shooting them up into the stratosphere. It's so wild. You know, it feels like Nintendo knew how much we hated
Exactly,
Koroks,
yeah.
and they were like, you know what I just put together? We're gonna get another golden piece of shit. But they're gonna be like, what? We let you fuck with them this time. That's gonna be the response.
Wasn't that
I
enough? You're
swear.
the one who wanted to collect them all. You're crazy. I'm like, we're crazy. You're the ones who made the goddamn game. What do you mean?
Yeah, I really hope that's not the case. I'll never buy another Zelda game again. That's not true. That's not true. But if they ever make another one like this, I will not complete it.
Because I know you completed 100% Breath of the Wild. I know I did.
I didn't. I didn't do it.
God. But like going through, just thinking about going through another 900 Korok seeds or more.
Yeah. Yeah, but like overall, like this Hyrule is just so much more fleshed out because in Breath of the Wild, it was dead. The world was gone.
Yeah.
Ganon had won. The world was just completely dead. There was people, there were civilizations, but like there wasn't that much going on. Here, you're seeing Hyrule being rebuilt. You're seeing building materials everywhere, small encampments everywhere. You have new. You don't have too many new cities, but original cities have been built up upon. And on top of that, you even can go on like monster crusades with villages and clear out monster forces for them to make their own other campsites and help them expand. There's so much more, and what I really appreciate is that like in Breath of the Wild, like you were isolated. You know, Link was fighting that entire battle alone, whereas like in this game, everyone knows him, everyone recognizes him, and so you're not isolated, and you actually have people like joining you on your adventure and helping you out. It's just crazy.
That is
Like
pretty
this,
sick.
like everything that they could and should have done for a sequel, they did, and then they did some on top of that. I would argue that this is probably like pretty damn close to like the perfect sequel to a video game, regardless of what it is, because they just took everything and just elevated it and they just built upon it.
That's all
Even
you really
though-
want out of a sequel. Just to make everything that was not, that could have been made better.
Yeah.
Just that little extra bit. Like, the quality of life changes, like and I've said this before, like when you open up a treasure chest and you have a full inventory, it gives you the option to drop something.
yeah.
And that's like,
Much
thank
appreciated.
God, I don't need to
Instead of fucking Hogwarts with that stupid ass glitch, I hated that. In Hogwarts, if your inventory is full and you open up a chest for an item, it'll glitch out and you can't get the item. It just disappears. It's so fucking retarded.
if you drop the item that you were doing and try to do it again, if you don't do that, because it says you have your inventory full and then you try to I'm just gonna delete something, and then you try to do it and it just doesn't work and it's glitch out forever. If you don't do that, teleport away, teleport back, fine.
Really?
It's a small bug, and it's just but if you,
Wow.
I know. I tried this before, and I was like, all right, I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah.
Teleported away and came back, and I could open up the chest this time. I was like, oh, that works. That works.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but we're not talking about that shitty game.
Shit game. Well, no.
So what's your overall?
I was gonna say this. Got all the affirmation I needed from Breath of the Wild. Thank you. That game was so small. I said it before. Everything that happened in the memories in the first game should have been the actual game. Not like, hey, we failed once, but we're gonna try again, and this is all this things. Like, no, just make all the memories the actual game that we had before. That's fine. But this one is much more detailed, more the storylines are deeper because they have the first game to fall back on. So all these different characters you have from the very beginning, or for the first game at least, and you see them grow older, get bigger, get different positions, grow older, have different lives now, or better lives, or
Pura.
things. Pura.
Yeah, poor.
Yeah, Pura. Like
She has another set of diaries to go find too.
Yeah, she becomes old, like as old as she was before again, before she de-aged herself
She
and
looks hot,
whatnot. And like all these different like changes and updates, it's much better. So it is definitely one of those legitimate sequels where everything is better that you just wanted things to be better, and they are. Everything you loved about the first game, but better.
What I liked about it too is the fact they chose the Zonai. Like obviously this was probably pre-planned, right? But like in Breath of the Wild, Zonai was such a mysterious civilization that you just find little info about
Yeah.
here and there. They don't ever go into depth about who they are, and yet now they are the
Center point.
fucking the centerpiece, the progenitor race of everything. And like I just think that's pretty dope how they
actually-
kind of snuck that in.
Yeah, we actually are getting like the origin
Yeah.
of everything.
Yeah, and the design of the Zonai, at least of the first one, you see what's his name,
Rauru.
Rauru. Like I think it looks fucking sick.
It's always the thing, that question that people would ask for Zelda games, like, well, if these are recurring legends that always repeat throughout time, throughout every game, well, then at the start somewhere, right? Had to have a first. Everything had to have a first. So may this at least shed some light on some of that lore, at least some of that, like, oh, maybe you get to find a little bit more about how this all kind of came to be.
Yeah.
At least in that aspect. So that I love for this game in particular, getting into that depth, that history of the origin, everything,
Yeah.
which is great.
Yeah, but yeah, for closing out, for me personally, even though I'm not done with the game, Majora's Mask has always been my favorite game for the last 20 plus years.
Here.
And I actually see this one becoming my new favorite game of all time, and arguably like the best Zelda game, which is subjective. I know you're already giving me a sour face. That's my personal opinion
I know.
of it. Hey, but that's a lot coming from me because I love that game. I worship Majora's Mask. That's been my favorite game for almost my entire life. But this one has just been such like almost like a religious experience for me, man. Like I've just been so fucking lost in this game. Like if I'm not playing it, I'm like listening to non-spoiler videos about it, or I'm thinking about it. Hell, I've had dreams where I'm like, I think I'm playing the fucking game, and I wake up and I was like, wait, was I? And I get confused. I'm like, wasn't I doing it? I'm like, oh shit, no, that wasn't real. I've been so lost.
Well, it did
Obviously-
just recently come out, right? So like
Yeah.
at the very least,
Yeah.
you're like, I still need to get.
I'm not
back
gonna
to
be. I'm not gonna be giving like my. Obviously, I can't give a final verdict on it because I'm not finishing it. But as for now, for like, I can't say early impressions because of how much time I put into it. But for the video's sake, as of right now, I'm actually sitting at like a 10 out of 10, easily
Damn.
at the moment. Yeah, and there is no chance this is not winning Game of the Year.
You think so?
Positive.
I'm here. What about
There's no-
Spider-Man 2 though?
No.
No?
No.
I wouldn't say
No.
No?
Zelda is so much bigger than Spider-Man and like the
Like,
game.
there's
I'm not gonna argue with you
Yeah.
about
there's a lot of
that.
games I would like.
Oh,
if it
little
came
fun
out.
fact. Do you know how many copies Tears of the Kingdom sold within its first 3 days?
How much?
10 million.
Jesus.
It's been
It's breaking records. Yeah, it's breaking records. I read a little
Yeah.
report on that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's nuts. There's no way this does not win Game of the Year.
Well,
can see
Final
that.
Fantasy 16
That would be a close second.
or
I was gonna say I'm like that.
I love
It's coming
Final
out this
Fantasy.
year.
I love Final
it's still
coming out
early in the
next
year.
month.
It's still early.
Yeah.
Wait, it hasn't
But
come
no.
out yet, so
it's still
there's still
halfway through
time.
the year.
There's
It's
still time for it
a
to break.
shit ton of
I'm
games.
very,
It's on records.
I'm very biased. Zelda's gonna win.
Yeah.
It's gonna take it. But that's
Have they won before?
Breath of the Wild one.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Pretty much anytime a new Zelda game comes out, it usually wins Game of the Year.
Really?
Yeah.
Ooh, has it though?
Wind Waker has, Ocarina of Time has,
Yeah,
Majora-
but has Skyward Sword or Twilight Princess though?
Twilight Princess did, Skyward Sword did not. But Skyward Sword is kind of like the second black sheep of the Zelda
Where
What's
games.
is
the first?
Yeah.
Zelda 2, the side-scrolling
Oh, got
game,
it.
Adventure of Link. Yeah. But usually when a Zelda game comes out, like a mainline 3D Zelda, it 9 out of 10 times, 9.99 out of 10 times, it's gonna take Game of the Year. That's just how it
It's
goes.
lucky they
Zelda
came
games
out.
are just that
It's lucky
good.
it came out in the ring like last year with Zelda.
Yeah, well, shit. Last year was a heavy hitter of a year.
Yeah.
Forbidden West, Elden Ring, Ragnarok.
Yeah. That was
So
a
it had
massively
major
huge
competition.
year for games.
Yeah.
And this year looking like it's going to be like a pretty damn big
for
as
sure.
well.
Already.
It's gonna,
Already,
it's
well-
gonna be tight because there's Tears of the Kingdom, and then there's Final Fantasy 16. RE4 is gonna be a big one. Street Fighter 6 is gonna be a big one.
Atomic Heart came out.
And-
I know we haven't played it, but it looks like it would be a big game.
Possibly. I don't know much about it. I'll have to look.
It
into
does have mixed reviews, so I wonder how that will affect
Yeah.
it versus everything
Is
else.
Armored Core coming out this year?
Yeah, it is.
It is, right?
Yeah.
So,
There's so many
games
also,
coming out
also
too.
another thing
and
that
then the Dead Space remake came out
Dead
too, and that was a
Space.
big deal.
right. So like there's plenty of time in games to come out that might show craziness. Like of course Final Fantasy always shows good.
Yeah, we already we already know
so-
Final 7 remake part 2 is going to be game of the year next year.
Unless it comes out this year, and then you're like, well, what would
Well,
you choose?
shit.
Yeah, you're like, well, you
God.
thought it was gonna be the game of the year, and then Final Fantasy is like, let's see what we have here. 16 and remake. Wow.
There's no way 16 and 7 remake part 2 will come out in the same year.
Nah, there's no way.
No, because
They
the way
wouldn't do that to
companies stagger
themselves.
their releases, they want everyone to focus on one at a time.
That is fair.
Yeah.
But 16 has your man Yoshi
Hmm.
P, who saved Squeenix with the how it rebuilt 14 from the ground up. So
Yeah.
it's kind of hard to say it won't take Game of the Year versus this Tears of the Kingdom, but no time will tell.
Yeah.
And that's
We'll
another
see.
video for next time.
Yeah, but overall, what's your final first impressions so far?
Yeah, no, it is legitimate sequel. I love everything that's going on, and it's for me, it's still too early to quite tell. I have done one of the first big, Divine Beast type quests, and I love that. So if everything else is like the same thing, I'd give it almost like not quite there at a 10, maybe an 8 or 9 out of 10.
Don't you dare say 8.
I would only say 8 because I've only
No.
done so little. Because I've
Fair
done
enough,
so
fair enough.
damn little.
I was gonna say
compared to
8
what's in-
too because I've done so little and like
Right, like it's
yeah.
only sort of sheer.
All right, guys,
number I'm
thanks.
not
That's the end of the
doing.
video.
Yeah, but like, it's hard to say with as little, with as massive of game it is. So yeah, tentative 8.5, we'll say. Tentative 8.5. Probably needs to be. Yeah, it's probably a 9. We'll see as we play more. I know it's gonna probably be
you're
more.
allowed to have a wrong opinion.
So is you, but we'll get there. And so this
You're
is
wrong, and
this
I
is only
hate
a
you.
tip of the iceberg. Yeah, you say that. But we will get to it in another video. But till next,
And then hold up,
right?
Anthony.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've only been at the very beginning. I just got to the chasms, but I'd say like an 8 out of 10, easy.
So far.
Easy 8 out of
Do
10.
you think he has the potential to go up?
Oh,
you?
for sure.
Oh, yeah.
for
Okay,
sure.
okay.
I have
Alright.
barely touched the tip of the iceberg.
Like, these are-
I know I barely touched
These scores
it.
can only go up.
Yeah,
There's only
exactly.
so much. There's so much more.
I don't think it will ever go below 8 already.
No, yeah.
Because it just, and the only reason why it's not a 10 out of 10 is because of what I said earlier, like just the whole starting over and Link waking up and starting over again. I just didn't like that, but whatever. That's just nitpicking at that point.
Gotta start a game somehow, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again,
Yeah.
like that's the one thing I would have said. Like both the stamina wheel and the fact that you are almost redoing the tutorial isle, the Great Plateau, like Breath of the Wild. So it's like, okay, it's pretty much the exact same. Like it's pretty much structurally the same start.
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild. So I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, whatever. You could have done a little bit new, but I get it. I get it.
Yeah, I get it.
I get that you have to do that. So
Yeah, for people going into Tears of the Kingdom thinking it's a different game than Breath of the Wild, it's not that. It's definitely Breath of the Wild 2. But
Yeah,
it's just
for
a
sure.
better Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
exactly.
Exactly.
So
don't get
if
it
you
wrong.
didn't like Breath of the Wild, then you probably won't like this one. But then again, you might like it because of like how much is in it and how much has changed and how much nuance there is to it.
They fixed
It's
a lot of
it's
good
crazy
things.
what they were able to do in like a game that has pretty much the same map.
Yeah, it pulled off a crazy feat with what they did with as many things as there are
Yeah.
in a game that was already intensely massive, and they just made it even more so. So time will tell. There's
Yeah.
so much shit to do.
But hopefully we'll be able to talk about that in another video. Maybe we'll circle back to this topic once we finish this game. Might be
Yeah.
a while till then.
Yeah,
but,
might be a while.
Right.
yeah.
And I know the last time we were going to at least continue on with Attack on Titan, so that might end up being next time. We will see.
Yeah, we do need
will
to
see.
talk about that.
But for now,
That's coming up.
Fall, I know.
That's coming.
Final
I know,
episode.
right?
That is coming up.
Everything that's coming in the fall, I'm like, oh god, it's just
Yeah.
only
like
it's
2 or
a
3
whole
months.
season away. And
Yeah.
I still got summer, and
Yeah.
I can't really just skip through summer because summer's amazing.
But we'll talk about that in the next episode.
Absolutely. So, for now, this was this podcast here in the rain, guys.
If you
Thanks
made
for
it to the
enjoying
end,
this.
thank you so much for watching. We appreciate you, and we'll catch you next time.
Peace.
Later,
Bye.
guys.